Hi everyone, my name's Meri, and I'm an educator at the North Carolina Aquarium at Pine Mill Shores, and today we're going to go take a nature walk. Now of course, before we start our walk today, we want to make sure that we have everything that we need. First, make sure you have on the right clothes for the weather. Second, of course, you want a nice pair of walking shoes. Third, we want a bag in case we find anything that needs picked up out of the environment. Fourth, a nice camera or phone in order to take pictures while you're out there. And then always make sure before you leave that you tell someone where you're going just in case. Now before we head out on our walk, we need to make sure we understand what we're looking for. Nature is anything that isn't made by people. So that's something very interesting to think about. So that means that nature is plants, animals, organisms, landforms, celestial bodies, and of course, the weather. Now that means we can find nature in our front yards, our backyards, gardens, potted plants, cracks in the sidewalk or driveway, or even possibly inside our own homes. There's a lot that we have to look for today. Let's go get started. All right, guys, let's see what we can find. Oh, perfect. All right, let's be really quiet. Come right here. All right, if you look close, you can see two anoles, right? So there's one on the right that's looking at, she has kind of green eyes, and then there's one on the left. She's very brown though. So the one on the right is definitely a male green anole, whereas the one on the left is a female. Males are about 15% larger than females, so it's a lot bigger. And you can see all those wrinkles on his throat. That's for his dewlap. Males have a dewlap that is 3 times larger than the females, and their dewlap will actually be bright red in order to entice the female to come over. Females have a dewlap too, but it's a lot smaller and it's more white or pink in color. Oh, look, he's bobbing his head. There's his dewlap. This is so exciting. So he is definitely either telling us to go away because he already has a female or doing some territorial display. I think he's telling us to go away. But before we go away, just a minute, lizard. I want to tell you one thing. Now, you may be looking at these going, they're not green, right? They're brown. And that's because these lizards can change between 2 colors, brown and green. And it's somewhat temperature dependent, but they're not going to be able to do a multiple amount of colors like those chameleons. But again, he is telling us to please leave. So we will give him and his lady a moment of peace. Now, if we come down though, to the grass in front of them, we can also see other types of life. So we'll go a little bit more away from them. We'll talk about it over here. All right, so this, beautiful. This is some white clover, right? It may seem like an everyday item, but remember, this is a plant. It is nature, right? Clover is actually a very edible food with high protein. So it's really good for bunnies and squirrels and deer. Even some cattle will eat it. The seeds are eaten by birds. People use it in their salads, and they use the leaves for herbs, teas, medicines. A lot of people will actually use this in a variety of ways. So this is a very beneficial plant to have in your yard for both people and the animals, of course. Perfect. This is the Carolina geranium. Carolina geraniums can have 5 to 7 deep lobes on one of their leaves, and sometimes they do get a really pretty flower, which can actually be lavender in color. They're a pretty cool plant. They can get pretty big. Again, this one is probably about almost 2 inches wide, so that's a very wide leaf. We continue to move. We can see a whole group of little flowers here, right? These are Fleabane. Now my Fleabane here, these are white here. I actually have some purple ones just over the way, so they can range in color from white to blue to purple, or even sometimes magenta. I don't have any magenta Fleabane in my yard. Let's see if we can get a really good look at some of the purple ones. Now the flowers are really good for insects, which you can see a few insects on them on occasion. Well, I think I scared them all away. So a lot of what you're seeing are these little prickly patches, right? Like that one. That is actually the prickly lettuce, a native plant to North Carolina. Prickly lettuce can get a yellow leaf, and they can actually get pretty large. Now, they're not a lettuce you're going to want to eat, but they are definitely very common in your yards, and I have them pretty much every foot or so, as you can see. So I have a whole lot of that prickly lettuce. And here is more of that Carolina geranium. I really like that plant. It's just really cool. Oh, here we have, ta-da, garlic grass, right? So how do I know it's garlic grass? All right, let's follow it down to its leaves. And what we are seeing are shiny, glossy tubes that are hollow, right? So if this was onion grass, it would actually have flatter stems, more like blades of grass, whereas this one has more of these tubes. It's kind of hard to tell because it's mixed in to a bunch of other stuff, but they are definitely more tubular and they're not as flat. But there's a really good way to know the difference. One, you want to smell for that oniony, garlicky smell, and the only way to truly find out if these are garlic or onion grass would be, of course, to dig it up and look for those nice white bulbs. When it's wet sometimes, we can see some of my favorite animals, which are quite beneficial, and a lot of people don't like them, but I do. I think they're quite cute. Oh, and there's one. There's one, isn't he adorable? This, if we can get a good picture of him. Oh, it's a slug. Slugs are so cute. Now, slugs are actually beneficial. A lot of people don't like them, but I think they're very beneficial to the environment because slugs are a good food source. They feed a lot of different animals, and they're also really good as decomposers. Slugs are just like a snail in their general diet, but slugs have a mantle or a horseshoe hard space on the back, and it basically is where their shell would grow if they were a snail. The snail, who has that full shell, can't get into as many small spaces. Something else, though, to note about these amazing animals, of course, is that they do have 4 antennae, which you could kind of see in the beginning, and their 4 antennae are kind of interesting. The top 2 are going to be where possible eye spots are, where they can kind of see something blurry if it's moving over them, like a predator. It also allows them to kind of detect smells in the environment. The bottom 2 antennae are more of a touch, so a little bit different. So the top ones are more for overall, whereas the bottom 2 are more for sensory and touch of the environment. And he's using them. Aww. Super cute. Definitely one of my favorites. And there are a variety of snails and slugs around your homes. And on rainy days, they definitely like to come out and play. So I oftentimes get a lot of thistle in this area. So I do have to be careful while I'm walking. But I do have a lot of different plants in here. The thistle is this big spiky one. It's kind of easy to tell. Also, especially if you step on it, it hurts a lot. And it'll actually wrap around your shoes. So I definitely don't recommend stepping on thistle. Best to dig it up if you don't want it. I'm not entirely sure on the species of this. I've tried to look it up. I honestly need to get a picture of its bloom to be able to best tell what it is personally for myself. But these thistles, they're probably either bull thistle or Virginia thistle, but again, I'm not 100% sure on that. That's the cool thing about nature walks around your home, is that sometimes you know what things are, other times you may have to take it home and research it, which is why, again, it's really important, big thistles, to bring that camera out with you so that you can really get a good picture of it. Ooh. Cool, guys. Cool, cool, cool. I just spooked an American toad. American toads are super cool. All those little bumps on their back make them taste really bad if they're to be eaten. This is definitely a full-grown adult. You can tell that because this guy is definitely about 3 to 3.5 inches long. Pretty cool. They're going to have those strong legs for hopping around. Very cool. And the really cool thing about the American toad is that they can actually call, the males can, not the females, the males can call for about 30 seconds. And it kind of sounds like a phone ringing, which is kind of cool. Because of all the rain recently, a lot of our wetter animals like the snail and our toads are out hopping about today because it's nice and moist in the environment. We will keep moving past our toad. Sorry, Mr. Toad. Okay, this is cool. This is cool. So, these are true dandelions. I know you're probably saying it's a dandelion. We've all seen dandelions. And yes, that's true. But true dandelions, right? So their petals have this more oval shape. Their stalks or stems are more hollow. And their leaves are toothed. Now, these are also a very edible plant. The top part can be used in salads again. The leaves can be an herb, or again, they can be made into tea, and a lot of animals really rely on dandelions as well. And then, of course, a lot of us know about their beautiful seed dispersal, which are those nice things you like to blow on. As you can see, though, this one is already gone, probably thanks to my children. But the cool thing about dandelions is that there's only one true, and then there are 2 false. Ooh, perfect. All right, so here we have the true dandelion, right? Hollow, rounded leaves, or stalk leaves that are toothy. Now, right next to it, this is the hairy cat's ear. Now, this is a false dandelion. Now, you may be able to tell the difference when you're close up. From a distance, they look pretty similar. And what you're going to see, though, is that the hairy cat's ear actually has petals which are almost more like a spork, right? And they're also kind of like rectangular. Now, if we get down to its stalk, you can see that it's more solid, and sometimes it's even branched to have multiple flowers, which is something a dandelion can have. And if we get all the way down to its leaf structure, it's actually fuzzy. I don't know if you guys can see those little bitty hairs. I think you can, but it's actually going to be very fuzzy, hence the, cat ear name. Now here we're going to see a little bit more of that hairy cat's ear. Again, I have a lot of that, but I do also have the last false one, which we're going to make our way over to. And the last false dandelion is the Carolina false dandelion, right? So it's kind of right in its name. If you look at it though, again, it has those nice toothy leaves. Perfect, right? But besides the fact that it's yellow, just like the dandelion, it's actually a little bit paler if you could see it in person. It has multiple flowers per stalk. So definitely not the true one, who always has that single and they're hollow. Instead, it is that Carolina false one. But it looks like, guys, we are pretty much done. So thank you guys for joining me on our nature walk today. I hope you got to see a variety of plants and animals and that you had fun along the way. It's interesting to think about how close we are to nature just by stepping outside our own homes, and we can definitely impact nature on a daily basis. So we want to make sure that our actions are positive. So by keeping those natural plants around your homes, or by planting native ones in your gardens, or by using natural chemicals in your homes, on your lawns, or even on your cars, it can help out a lot. If you do want to take it a step further, you can actually help us protect 50% of our lands and oceans by going to www.globaldealfornature.org. But nature is all about fun, and we definitely want to have a good time every time we're out there. So if you'd like to, you can click the link below and get a fun scavenger hunt for next time you do your nature walk. Or you can even click the link below for a fun nature activity and learn how to do your own leaf rubbings in your own homes. Just remember that whenever you're out in nature, that you want to have fun, but you also want to make sure that you're respectful to the animals and the plants. Bye!